BruCast is back, baby.
This BruCast episode is brought to you by the BruCast store. Explore a store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BruCast. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Visit now bru-cast.com/store. Link below. Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another BruCast episode. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast is recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. BruCast also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where we upload shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BruCast on Instagram, X, and TikTok. Links on the description below. Our guest today is Lauren Callahan. Lauren, a renowned gut health expert, Reiki master, ultrarunner, and IronMan. She is an IronMan athlete as well. So she's the author of Powerful But Not Tired and another book, Couch to 50 Miles. She empowers middle-life women to transform their energy, mood, and health, transcending the limitations of conventional medical advice. All right, that's quite impressive. How are you doing, Lauren?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, bro.
Well, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. Damn, that's a lot. So I don't even know where to start. So let's start with gut health expert. What is gut health?
You know, scientists are calling your gut these days your second brain.
Oh,
and
wow.
there's a really good reason for that. Yeah, because it's connected to absolutely everything. And I stumbled upon this really as an athlete. I was curious about how to make my athletic journey better, how to break through some boundaries that I was experiencing. And in the process, discovered that it exponentially helped my health. Things that I didn't even realize were a problem were not a problem anymore. My health, I can say, skyrocketed once I started working to heal my gut. So yeah, your gut is just related to everything. It's related to your emotions, your energy, your immunity, certainly your gastrointestinal health. We could figure that out. But you know, your ability to think clearly is related to every health outcome that you can think of.
All right, so your second brain. Well,
Yeah.
that's crazy, because one thing's for sure, after, like, for example, I can talk for myself, right? After I had like this huge portion of pasta, I just have my gut full, let's say. I don't want to think. It's like something happens in my brain, I just don't want to think. Is that somehow related to the gut health? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Certainly, you know, there's a lot of things that could be going on there. You know, I mean, pasta, it's straight carbs, which I am not one to say, oh, go low carb or no carb. I'm actually, I believe that balance is really, really good for your gut. So I'm not saying to cut those things out. But, you know, if it is not in the context of being balanced with other foods, that can be a thing for you. Also, you know, I'm also not one to say, hey, you should go gluten-free, dairy-free, you know, whatever. But some people do have a sensitivity in their gut to gluten, especially if their gut is in a bad place. So, I mean, yeah, there could be a lot of things happening there when you're not feeling good after eating that pasta.
All right. Okay. So your gut's not in the right place. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so, you know, let me put it to you this way. But when, you know, I mentioned athletics and how that really spurred my own interest in gut health.
Yeah.
You know, the thing was, this was about a year, well, almost 2 years now ago, that, you know, I would describe myself as a healthy person, okay? I eat healthy, I was a runner, still am, but, you know, at the time, you know, I'm a runner, I was a therapist, you know, I do all the healthy things for myself, right? But what was going on was that I had tried for 4 years to run a marathon and I just never could. Like I'd always be dealing with, you know, injury or recovery issues. And just for whatever reason, I'm a decently healthy person. I should be able to do this. But I couldn't. And so I started hearing about athletes who would improve their gut health. And all of a sudden they weren't dealing with injury anymore. And I was like, what the hell does my gut have to do with my knees? But I was curious enough, and the thing I kept coming back to, Brew, was I was like, I eat really healthy. I'm a healthy person, but what if my gut is not healthy enough to receive the good things that I'm giving it? And honestly, like, without getting graphic here, I could go to the bathroom and ask this question. Like, it looks like everything's going right through me. Is my gut really taking it in, right? And Brew, that was the best question that I ever could ask myself. Because, what I found out, as I tested my gut, and this is what I do with all of my own clients, I test the gut to see exactly what's going on. I found out it was actually very unhealthy, even though I was doing all of the healthy things. And so, I went on this path of healing my gut. And actually, what happened is, yes, that whole thing with repetitive injury and problems with recovery that I was having as an athlete, it got better. Like, I finally went out about 6 months later and I ran my first marathon ever. I'd been trying for 4 years and couldn't do it, right? I improved my gut health. I go out and I run a marathon. And then not only that, I go out just a couple months after that and run a 50-mile ultra. And then I go and do my first IronMan. And then I go do another 50-mile ultra and another IronMan. I mean, I was just like, whoa, like all this from improving my gut health. All of a sudden I was able to recover. I didn't have the inflammation that I used to. I wasn't getting the repetitive injury. I had the energy. But not only that, like all of that was really cool. But in that process, I also realized, whoa, like I'd have these moments where I'd be like, oh my God, I'm sleeping now. I wasn't sleeping before. And simply by improving my gut health, I was able to sleep. I used to have anxiety. Now I improved my gut health and I didn't have this anxiety anymore. I used to have all these gastrointestinal things. A lot of women in midlife, it's a thing. I mean, men too, right? but I had, I'd have these moments where I'd say, whoa, I don't have that anymore. Getting sick. I used to get sick all the time, like antibiotics and steroids, like it was a thing. I mean, often throughout the year, I was getting really sick with like upper respiratory stuff, and it wasn't a thing anymore. So I guess what I'm getting at is I improved my gut health to help me to improve as an athlete. And what happened was that, I find out how it's related to everything. And now all of a sudden there's, inflammation is down. I'm getting sleep. My mood is way better. I have all this energy. I don't have the gastrointestinal problems. I'm not getting sick, right? All of the things, right?
That sounds like a miracle.
Yeah, it felt like it, honestly. When you come to this, place in life, especially, when, I'm not 20 anymore, right? You come to this place in life where you just start to accept all of these things as normal. And you go to your doctor and your doctor's like, oh yeah, everything's normal. And the truth is it's not, right? They're actually, gut health is something that helps you go to the source of things that are out of balance in your body, right? And so when you're able to simply improve your gut health and all of those other things, begin to resolve, it does feel like quite a miracle.
Wow. So one thing that still puzzles me, you mentioned like it can happen that you're eating the right things, quote unquote, and you're not improving your gut health. So what do you mean by that? Like, what are the right things?
Yeah, well, okay, that's the $1,000,000 question, right?
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. That is a great question. And what I will say is a very annoyingly like elusive answer. It's different for everybody.
Okay.
Okay. And actually I can give a little illustration on that too. So I tested my gut health. And soon after, my husband tested his. Okay, so when I tested my gut health, one thing that I found out was that a gut metabolite, I test 11, there's actually many, but there's several, there's about 11 gut metabolites that are really, really connected to just about every health outcome you can think of, right? And so I test my gut health, and one of the gut metabolites that is really high is what's called 3-methylxanthine. And it's a gut metabolite that is just very reflective of inflammation in your body that is specifically related to caffeine, okay? And so when I test mine, it is through the roof. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I drink tea. I don't even drink coffee. Like, I just drink tea. This should not be that bad. And so, I do the things to help reduce my caffeine, right? Well, then I go and test my husband, who, the man can put away some coffee, right? He like can drink coffee like nobody's business, right? And so I was thinking his 3-methylxanthine level is going to be through the roof. Well, I test him and it's actually not that bad. It's like a little bit high, but not really. And so I'm like, how does that work? But there's a lot of things going on there. For one thing, I'm a woman, he's a man, and gut health is just different between men and women. It's a hormone thing. It's I don't know. I feel like women in general seem to have a more uphill battle with gut health. But I guess, to your point, like what should you eat? I'm talking about caffeine here, but the point is that your gut health and mine are very, very different. And so I can give the general principle, hey, you should probably have less caffeine, but that doesn't exactly work for everybody, and it's not the primary thing for everybody. Everybody's gut is just different. Like, it's unique, it's individual. So there are certain things that you can do to help your gut health, but it's just different for everybody, right?
I see. All right. So, ideally, you need to balance those 11 elements. So, when you test your gut health, you need to check. So let me go back a little bit. How do you test your gut health?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's very, very simple. There are different ways that you can test. The way that I
Okay.
do it with my clients is very, very simple. And it's one of the first things I do, so that it takes the guesswork out. Like, you just asked me the question, like, so what do I eat, right? What do I do to improve my gut health? I can give you a lot of good general principles, and we can definitely like go into that if you want. But one of the first things I do is I test my client's gut health so that we can take about 90% of that guesswork out. And so that test is very simple. You get it in the mail. I have it sent to you, and it's a pinprick blood test that you just do on your finger, and you just mail it in, and that's it. It's very, very simple. About a week and a half later, you're gonna know. You're gonna get those results back. I go through them with my clients, so that, again, you take about 90% of that guesswork out. We know exactly what we're working with. And then, the other 10% is you're a human being, right? You're not a robot. Everybody has different lives, different preferences, different goals, different things that work for them and things that don't. And so that's part of the next part of the process, is that once we know now what's going on in your gut, I help my clients make that a reality in their life. And, we take like 4 months to do it, right? We make sure that we take a good long time to not just flood you with a bunch of information. Oh, here's what you should eat, and just go run, right? We make it a pattern in your life so that, it's not like this fad diet kind of thing that, once you leave me, everything goes to pot again. Right?
Yeah, so some people, they really need the assistance, right? I'm not sure if it's true, but I think in the U.S., like right now, 60% of the population is obese.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
a thing?
actually,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know the actual statistic, but that doesn't surprise me at all. And honestly, I would have well, obese and overweight. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that was a little bit conservative, but no, that sounds about right. Yes, and it's related to a million different health outcomes, right? And there are a lot of people who are putting in their best effort to lose weight. um, and I'd say
Sorry, 39.6%, not
39.6 is obese. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's overweight and obese, right?
Oh,
That
okay.
number is probably a lot larger for just overweight. Yeah, I mean, you think about, my goal has never been to lose weight. That has not been like a personal thing for me. I have a lot of clients who it is their goal. They have been trying. They've been trying, and it feels like failing a million times, right? They've been doing all of the things that somebody, has recommended to them, or they've seen works for somebody else. But when your gut health is out of balance, losing weight is truly an uphill battle. I've had lots of women that have come, again, trying everything to lose weight. They're really trying to lose that last 15 to 20 pounds. And when I start working with them on their gut health, they usually start eating more food and losing weight at the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so freeing, right? Like, they're not in this deprivation kind of pattern anymore where they keep cutting back and cutting this out and taking that out and trying to eat less. And no, actually, oftentimes you can eat more and lose weight at the same time. It's a matter of doing what's healthy for your gut.
Got it. And you can get all that information. I mean, most of the information through a drop of blood. That's I'm fabulous. How do you say in English? Flabbergasted. Like, I cannot believe it. That's amazing. It's that's really incredible. Do you remember? There was this huge scandal of this lady. She was like even faking her voice. She was like claiming that she could cure everything through a blood test, something like that.
Oh yeah.
What was her name? I don't know.
No, I don't remember that.
But it was like 10 times, like, oh, I'm gonna cure cancer. Just give me a piece. I don't know. It was crazy. But it's crazy. How come? You know what? Never mind. Because the blood's running throughout the whole body, right? So at some point it passes through your gut. So that makes sense, my logic. So it gets information from your gut.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, in a sense, yes. Like there's a lot of information going through your gut. Like for example, your immunity. To someone like me, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not like I entered my 20s in the medical profession or anything. I'm not a medical professional, right? So to somebody like me, it doesn't make sense that your gut is related to your immunity. Like this is just something that I have learned now, in working with gut health. But, actually a lot of your immunity cells reside in your intestines, like in your large and small intestines. And again, like to a lay person, as far as, medical, whatever, that doesn't totally make sense to me. But yeah, like you have a lot of your immune cells living in your large and small intestines. So when you're messing that area up, it messes up all the communication in your body, right? All of a sudden, the lining of your gut is one cell thick. Okay. That's very thin. And so when you are, living in such a way, and not just nutritionally, but, through what you eat, but also lifestyle choices are damaging to that very fragile one cell lining in your gut. And, now we've got damage and we've got little tears and we've got problems going on in the same place that you have immunity cells, right? So now anything can enter your body. And your body is saying, oh my God, it's an invasion. We have to do something about that, right? And you end up getting sick with time. And that is because of your gut health, right? It has nothing to do with you washing your hands and wearing a mask, right? Like it was just your gut health.
Yeah, and everything's connected, right? Like the gut, the mind, your mood, like how much light you receive in the day, and like the people that you surround with, and like the information they put in your head, like everything's connected. I started going out for a walk every day in the morning. Like it really changed a lot, really a lot. Like how I spend the rest of my day, like my mood just lifts up. I don't know what it is, if it's the light, it's the exercise, it's the fact that I'm fasting a little bit. And I think it's a little bit of everything, because everything is kind of connected. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot going on for sure when you're walking, and especially when you're walking outside too. Yeah, and truthfully, I mean, I mentioned a minute ago, gut health is not just about your nutrition. People exercise on a regular basis, their gut health is better. So there's a lot going into that process, right? And you mentioned mood, right? Like how just how that being a curious thing, that gut health would be related to your mood. And I think I wanted to highlight that because that was one of the huge things for me when I did test my gut health. I said a minute ago that I was a therapist, right? So this was my world, like helping people with their mood. This is what I did every day, right? And I did all the things for myself as well to make sure that I was, to try to make sure I was in a healthy place and mood for my clients. Well, when I tested my gut health, one of the things that really surprised me, and I didn't know before this point, was that one of your gut metabolites is serotonin. So serotonin is like that neurotransmitter that we associate with our mood. Like if you were going to go to the doctor and say, hey, I'm depressed, the doctor would likely prescribe to you an SSRI, one of those S's stands for serotonin, right? Like serotonin, this is related to your mood. If you're depressed, like this is what a doctor's going to give you usually. So I found out, serotonin is actually a gut metabolite. And not only that, in your natural state, like as long as you are not taking an antidepressant, your body, like 90% of your body's serotonin is actually produced in your gut.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when I tested mine, my serotonin was really, really low, which was unbelievable to me. Again, just because I was a therapist, I thought, oh, like this should be the one thing that I've got going, right? Is like good serotonin. But it was really low. And I could feel that. I was struggling all the time with depression and anxiety, even while I'm trying to help other people with their mood too. And I could see it on paper. Well, no wonder this is such a struggle. My serotonin is really low. And the answer is not going out to get an antidepressant, because actually that creates this whole other set of processes. Like if you take an antidepressant, it actually moves the production of serotonin from your gut to your brain, basically to your head. And so it may or may not help you with your mood. Antidepressants only work for about 66% of the population that take them. Okay. But even if it does work, what it does is, again, it takes that serotonin away from your gut. And then you've got a whole other source of issues, because serotonin is also hugely responsible for your digestion and for your ability to sleep. So if you take that away, now you've got a lot of other problems. So this is like where those really like those side effects come in for people taking antidepressants. Sometimes they feel it, but a lot of times, and I see this with my clients, is that they actually have a lot of other issues going on. And a lot of it goes back to the fact that they're taking an antidepressant. And so they've removed that serotonin basically from their gut. And so now their gut is not functioning well because it needs that serotonin.
So if
And
you
so
have,
for me, yeah, go ahead.
I was about to ask, so if you have a client who just came in and he's actually taking antidepressants, your first thing would be to recommend him to stop doing it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm very careful about that because, it is an antidepressant, right? Like people get on that for a reason. I very much leave that up to my clients' personal goals, right?
Okay.
So we look at what's going on. We take a look at the test results first. And based on those test results, I'll make recommendations. That is definitely one of those things that, in the end is just up to you as a client, right? Like if that's something you want to pursue, because if you do want to get off an antidepressant, there are some specific things you're going to have to do to heal your gut, to improve your gut health, and to really help your gut work hard to produce again its own serotonin, so that eventually you can get off of that antidepressant. So that is kind of a delicate work there. That I'll be honest, that's one of the harder works, right? Like there are some things with improving your gut health that are easier to do. This one is not hard. It just takes a little bit more time, especially if you're already on an antidepressant and want to get off of it.
Yeah, I hear all the time that people get hooked on antidepressants, right? They can get addictive somehow. It's because of the serotonin.
There's a lot of things going on there, but yeah, your body gets used to, relying on that antidepressant for, basically like its source or way of processing serotonin in your body. So yeah, if you were going to taper off of that, and I would always recommend, that you work with your doctor to do that, right? Like that's certainly not something I'm just going to tell somebody to go do. You work with your doctor on that, but in that process, there are specific things that we can do to help you get your gut producing serotonin again, and getting your gut to be a very healthy environment for serotonin to exist again, and for your gut to produce it, right? So that you don't need the antidepressant. Like this is not something to, let's make you suffer and take you off of that antidepressant. Not at all, right? Your body knows what to do. It knows how to balance things again and get things back in order. So, I'd say that's a very compassionate process of helping your body balance out again as far as the serotonin goes.
Got it. Man, that's amazing because for many, many years when I hear or people say that they're depressed, like your first reaction is to think like it's in the brain, it's in the mind. Everything's happening up there. No one talks about the gut. But now that you mentioned serotonin, we're talking about it, it's produced in the gut and actually affects your mood and might cause or solve depressions. That makes a lot of sense because if I'm not mistaken, it was recently discovered that there's like an actual connection between the brain and the gut. Like there's I don't know how what's the biological term, but it's a wire. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't call it a wire. I don't know the term, but you know what I'm talking about. Let's look it up.
Yes. Some kind of I don't know the term for it either.
Connection.
But yeah, it's directly connected.
Brain and gut. I want to get the name. So oh man, that's a horrible vagus nerve. So the name.
Oh, yeah.
You heard it before?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your vagus nerve is the main link between your enteric nervous system and your brain. There we go. Everything makes sense.
Good job.
All right. So serotonin is one of those 11 elements. Am I right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And one that, I can tell you from personal experience, like I said, when I first tested, mine was really low. And so I, did all the things to heal my gut, improve my gut health, and I got it back up. And I could see these numbers on paper, like I could see it improving, but I absolutely felt it in my life because, like I was saying to you a minute ago, I had all these moments where I was like, oh my God, I don't have the anxiety and depression that I used to. It's like all the edges of that were smoothed. And not only that, I sort of mentioned this a minute ago, but serotonin then breaks down into melatonin. So melatonin being, like if you have a hard time sleeping, you're going to go to the store and get the little gummies, right? The melatonin gummies to help you sleep. Your body can produce that, and it produces it from serotonin. So as long as your gut is a healthy environment, your serotonin is going to break down into melatonin. So now you're happy and now you can get sleep. And remember, serotonin helps with digestion. So now you can digest your food and everything's going smoothly there. And you're not getting sick because everything is working the way that it should, right?
That's amazing. Everything works like clockwork. The body is incredible.
It can. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So I have a delicate question. So
Yeah.
one of the ways of fixing your gut health is through what you eat, right?
Yes.
And you mentioned that everyone's a little bit different. Did it ever happen that you had to recommend someone to just eat meat and someone else just eats like vegetables and vegan food and it worked for both of them? Or it's always like a mixture? So I want to debunk the myth, because there's this big myth in both sides that if you just eat meat, you're going to get healthy. And the vegans don't know. If you only eat vegan food, you're going to get healthy. And to this day, for me, this is a big confusion. So you're an expert. You might shed some light into this whole debate. What do you think?
Yes. Yeah, I'd love to. So if it's okay, maybe I'll answer that question by giving a little bit of an analogy. Is that
Of
okay?
course. Yeah.
Okay. So I like to compare the gut to a forest. Okay.
Wow.
And one reason is because I live near a forest and I love the forest. I run on the trails in the forest. I love it. So but think about the forest biome. Okay. If you were to walk out into an area and see nothing for miles, maybe like 5 miles away, you see a tree, you would say this forest is not healthy, right? Because you don't have a population of trees, right? You would wonder what's going on here. Or let's say you did walk to a clump of trees, but say maybe it's all pine trees, for example, and that's all you see. And you start wondering, well, what about the hardwood trees? What about other species? Like, what about, the mushrooms? What about the birds and insects and deer and rabbits? Like, what, the shrubs, the ferns? Like, what about, What about all those? There's no diversity, right? So you would automatically say something is wrong with the health of this forest. Also, if you like, if you looked at the animals, right, and you just only saw deer, right, that's all that existed. Again, you would wonder, like, where are the other animals here? Like, there's no balance, right? There's, again, no foxes, no bears, whatever. Like, there's no balance of species here. And then also, maybe you did have most of that, but if you walk into an area, especially here, I live in central Louisiana, in the States, and we have invasive species here, and that is the wild hog. So if you walk into a forest here, in central Louisiana, and you look around at the ground and it's all torn up and all the wildlife has been chased off,
It's like a
you would
pig,
know
right?
that wild hogs have been there. Yes,
Okay.
yeah, wild pig. Yeah, they're huge. They grow big. They multiply like rabbits. Okay, and they tear up the forest. It's really bad. It's a problem here in Louisiana. Okay, so the forest. I would compare the gut microbiome to a forest, and I want you to think about the wildlife that we talked about as bacteria. So your gut actually loves bacteria, okay? Unfortunately, especially like post-COVID, a lot of us have gotten into the sense that we have to get rid of all bacteria, right? Antibacterial soap, but actually your gut really likes bacteria. And just like the forest loves a good population, right, of, trees, different wildlife, your gut loves a good, strong population of bacteria. And not only that, it likes diversity of bacteria, just like the forest loves diversity, right? Your gut as well likes a diversity of bacteria. Not only that, it likes balance. It wants things to be in balance. And there are things that will tear up the gut, tear up the health of your gut. Just like in the forest, if you get the wild pigs, right, they're going to tear up the forest. In your gut, there are things that will tear up the health of your gut, okay? So bringing it back around to your question about, like, no meat or no dairy, no carbs, like whatever it is, right? Actually, certainly this is individual, and there are certain things for certain individuals that they just cannot have, maybe certain foods. But in general, on the whole, your gut loves balance. It wants to have a little bit of meat. It wants to have some carbs. It likes a little bit of dairy. Again, not always. That's not always true for everybody, but it needs fat. It needs protein. It needs carbs. It needs all the food groups, right? It needs those things to be in balance. So when you are, strictly eating, all fats, or strictly eating, all meats, or strictly eating all vegetables with, no meat or anything like that, it does throw off the balance of your gut. And also, back to that population and diversity of bacteria in your gut, it makes it really hard for your gut to have the diversity that it needs, and it makes it hard for it to have the population of bacteria that it needs. It, truly, like, your gut is like a multicultural place, right? It wants nutrition from a variety of places. So, I love that you asked the question, because, I bring this up a lot, especially, like, I'm 43, right? Like, people, especially women that, like, grew up in my generation and before, like, grew up on this message of, fats are bad, right? Like, if you want to lose weight, don't eat fat. Well, that's actually not true. Like, your body loves to receive healthy whole food kind of fats from, like, high quality sources, right? It loves that. It loves to have protein, and not from, like, a protein bar or a protein powder. Like, it wants real chunks of meat, as well as, like, nuts and seeds and things like that. It needs that balance, right? This whole, like, no carb thing, right? Your body wants that too. Now, again, it wants it from high quality sources. It does a little bit better when you can give it more carbs from, like, vegetables and fruits, things like that, primarily nutrient rich kind of foods. But yes, like, throwing out entire food groups, your gut, there's no balance there, and your gut doesn't like that. And then certainly, when you throw on top the mix of, what I said a minute ago, like things that can destroy your gut health. Okay. Things like, for example, highly processed foods that are really high in like highly refined sugars, stress. Okay. Now we're like moving away from nutrition, but stress like can destroy your gut health. So when you've got things that are destroyers of your gut health, and then also things are out of balance in your gut, like your gut does not like that at all.
Wow. I love that answer because it sounds healthy, first of all, and it's hard. It's like normally I don't hear things like that either. No, like you're just trying to plan it. How dare you eat meat or I only meat? For example, Jordan Peterson. I love this guy. He gave me so many amazing insights about life and everything. But when it comes to nutrition, he's very clear. I only eat meat is the healthiest thing that it can do for you because it saved my life. It saved my wife's life. It saved my daughter's life, and I'm not taking that away from him. Maybe it did. Who knows? Like as you mentioned, everyone's different. Maybe they really were craving that, like whatever meat was providing. Yeah, but I don't know. It sounds extreme, like you're saying, like you're excluding so many other food groups. How healthy is that? It can work for him, but I don't know if it works for everybody. So when you made this forest analogy, I was like, yeah, I know where she's going with that. It makes totally sense because I'm a true believer that everything in this universe is like repeatable in a pattern, and everything that happens in a small scale also happens in a big scale. And I was studying about bees the other day. I'm really fascinated about bees. I think they are incredible little animals. And one thing that bee colonies do very often is that they swarm. So what that means, basically, they grow as much as they can inside of the colony, but it reaches a moment that they just don't have space anymore. There's so many of them. They're like stepping on top of each other. So they swarm. So the queen goes out of the colony and try to find other, how they call it again? Bees to mate. Is a specific type of bee. Like they have the different categories, right? They have the queen, they have the workers, and they have the mating bee. There's a specific name for it. So the queen goes out and look for the mating bee, and the only reason why she does that outside of the colony and not inside is because she's looking for different DNA, a different type of DNA diversity. She needs diversity, like the colonies, they need diversity in order to grow. I think the Komodo dragon is the same. Like they can procreate between them, but if they keep doing that forever, the species just grows weaker. Like the newborns, they are always weak. So they need to go out and look for new DNA. They need diversity in order to remain strong. And I think that ties back to the gut biome and everything in the universe is kind of repetition. I don't know what I'm going with that. But
Yeah, well, I love it. And I'm like totally geeking out because I actually started raising bees this year.
really, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And so actually that's really cool. I don't know if I learned that at one point and maybe just forgot it, that's why she goes outside of the colony. That totally makes sense. Yeah, and that's they're drone bees. Drones are the
Drone
males
bees, yeah,
that
thank
go
you.
and mate. Yeah. So I was that's really cool. Didn't know or had forgotten that or something.
So you're a beekeeper.
Raising
That's
bees.
amazing.
I am. Yes. Yeah, we just started last spring and trying to save one right now. I think we had a hive. We have two hives, and so one of them I think has a failing queen. So we're trying to fix that right now. But we did get a little honey this year. So
Already?
that's cool.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. It's very cool. Like I have become a total nerd as far as bees and homestay in general goes.
Do you know what got me into bees? Have you heard about this flow hive?
A flow hive? No.
So there's this father and son from Australia. They were beekeepers for many years, and one day they said they just got tired of the whole process of smoking the whole bee colony and taking the frames and scraping the honey and making all that mess and have all the bees swarming all around them because they get nervous, right, when you take their honey away. So they're like, there must be a better way. So for a while, they developed something called the Flow Hive. They're not sponsoring the podcast, by the way. And it's amazing. So it's basically a normal hive, but it has windows on the side, so you can always look the progress. But the breakthrough thing that they patent, of course, is like you can actually stick a key into there, like into the hive, like a very specific key, and you can do that for all the frames. And as soon as you turn that key, all the honey, all the honeycombs inside, they just dislocate a little bit, but in a way that the bees don't notice, and all the honey starts flowing down into a tap that you can just open it like you're drinking beer, just open the tap, get the honey, you close the tap, and the bees don't even notice anything, and then they can just start replenishing the hive again. I was like,
so interesting.
Yeah, but it's expensive as fuck. It's like 1,000 euros.
Yeah, I bet it is. Sure it is. Well, maybe in a few years it'll be less expensive once it catches on. That's cool though.
Yeah, and I mean Germany, right? And one of their marketing materials, like you can have this on your balcony. Look at these people, like they're really people in Berlin, in Germany here, that they have those flow hives in their balcony. It was like, that's amazing, but you know what? Their marketing team, they're very clever. They just don't mention that at some point the bees will swarm. Like and what do you do then if you just have like space for one hive in your balcony? You're fucked basically because
I was about to say they usually swarm because they ran out of space, right? Like they have to expand. So I don't know. Maybe they've got another solution to that.
All right. Well, this is all very interesting, but let's go back to gut health.
Yeah, sure.
I wanted to ask you, what is RBF?
Oh. So, that, like, I don't know if that's an American thing or what, but it stands for resting bitch face.
Okay, moving on.
Yeah, so if you are in that state where you feel like I constantly have resting bitch face, you might like check out your gut health, right? There may be something going on there.
I learned something new. That's amazing. All right. So as we talked about, you're also Reiki master?
Yeah, Reiki master.
Reiki master. So what is Reiki?
Yeah, so Reiki is an energy healing technique and very much has its roots in like a Japanese tradition. Although we would say that, the Japanese, Dr. Yusui Mikao is the one who discovered it. We wouldn't say he created it because universal life force energy has been around forever. But it is a healing practice that uses energy for healing. So to heal and balance on all levels, physical, mental, emotional. And, when I discovered Reiki for myself, it was truly like the next level for me when it came to healing and balance. Like improving my gut health, like we said earlier, was like a miracle, right? Like I had no idea how many things in my life could improve, right, by just improving my gut health. But then when I discovered Reiki, it was like opening up a new window into like complete health and healing, again, on every level, physical, mental, and emotional. And I think, traditionally, I think what I want to say here is that traditionally Reiki is a practice that's done in person through the hands, right? So a Reiki practitioner will basically channel energy through their hands. And it doesn't mean necessarily that they touch you. Some do, some don't, but you don't have to actually touch the person for it to happen. But they just channel energy to the person receiving Reiki. Reiki knows where to go, right? It goes to the source of any imbalance, the source of any place in your body that needs healing. And so what I want to say there, though, is that Reiki can also be done at a distance, which is really great for me because I work virtually with all of my clients. But a Reiki master does not have to be in person with the person that they are working with. Like, I can send Reiki energy to people from a distance. And again, it's just because energy does not know the time and space and distance boundaries that, we do, right? Just as human beings. So yeah, Reiki is something that, when I discovered Reiki, it had been about a year since I had healed my gut, right? Like, since I had been doing all the things to improve my gut health. So, it's healthier than I'd ever been. Again, my mood, like immunity, everything was healthier than it had ever been. And then I discovered Reiki. And it's powerful. Like, it's hard to even put into words. It's powerful, though. One of the first things I experienced when I received Reiki was my body detoxed, and I don't even know what it was detoxing from. Again, like, my gut was healthy. Like, I was doing all the things, but I had a very clear detox, which was really interesting to me. And then, I mentioned, the anxiety and depression. I've dealt with that all of my life, right? My book, Couch to 50 Miles, I talk a lot about that because, my running journey ended up being a very healing journey personally for me. From healing from trauma that, happened when I was much younger, right? So again, anxiety and depression have always been on the radar for me. And then when I received Reiki, I was amazed at how, like, I experienced a relief like I never have before. Like, I can almost say it's just pretty much not a thing. Which, again, I'm 43 and have dealt with anxiety and depression for most of my life. And now that I've been practicing Reiki, like, it's almost just not a thing at all. So the level, the depth of healing that you can experience with Reiki is really amazing. And then, on a physical level as well, the best way I know to describe it is, it's like it enhances your body's natural ability to heal. So maybe, those little things that are small health concerns that have been kind of persistent here and there, it's like they go away almost immediately, right? In a way that they never have before. Some people experience a physical healing or a mental and emotional healing in a very dramatic way. Maybe, very dramatic and immediate. And I will say that there's some of those things that happen that way for me too. And then other things, it's very much that, just day to day to day, like it's one of those things that just keeps your body in balance, right? Like the same thing, like you would eat healthy food every day, right? And how, that helps regulate everything. Reiki can have that same effect, balancing hormones. I mean, it truly heals and balances on all levels at the source and always for your good, right? Like it's never harmful.
Interesting. Can Reiki be considered a religion?
No, I mean, I would say it's independent of religion. Like I've, met Reiki practitioners and people who receive Reiki from all different walks of life and religions. I would say that, there may be some folks who are not willing to receive Reiki because they don't think it's compatible with their religion. And then again, I meet people from the same religion and they're perfectly happy to receive or practice Reiki all day long. So it truly is independent of religion. It's energy, right? Everything in this world that is alive has energy. And we can see that through medical technology. We can see it in math. We can see it through quantum physics, right? That everything truly has energy. And our energies impact each other, right? Like, there's certain really cool kinds of photography, right? Where you can actually like see a person's energetic field. This stuff is really cool. Like you'll see like, maybe a person's like fingerprints, right? And you'll see an energetic, using like specialized kind of photography, you'll see an energetic field around it. And what's really interesting is if that person is stressed, that energetic field like is smaller, right? So, I mean, our energy, our energetic fields are very much connected to like our health, our emotions, our, what's going on mentally, right? Our physical well-being. You can see in the same kind of photography, like if you see, one person, their energetic field and another person, their energetic field. And if they like start holding hands, you see how the energetic fields impact each other, right? So certainly,
Where can I find this? Do you have like a name or a term that I can look for? Just
yeah, well, maybe for that photography as an example, I'm gonna say it wrong. It's like Kirlian photography. Let's see if I can look up how to spell that. It starts with a K. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I found it.
You
Whoa!
did? Okay.
Whoa, that's amazing. It looks like the surface of the sun.
Yeah, you see that energetic field around whatever they're photographing. Yeah.
Wow, for how many years do you know this? This is incredible.
I specific photography might have been developed like in the 70s or 60s, something like that. I know I found a video from UCLA.
So you
that
can
I think
use
was in the 70s.
you can use Kirlian photography to see the outline of objects and aura-like electrical coronas around them. So it's like the sun, like corona sun. It's more of an art practice now. There are beautiful photographs. Okay, so is it actual aura or is just electricity? How does
I
aura?
think some people would say that it's measuring an aura. I don't know that I would say that super definitively, and I think maybe that is dependent on how you view the energy. Like there are, you could certainly look at our energy from a very spiritual perspective. So I wouldn't say that it's not, right? Like, I mean, for me, it is. Like, we are physical, mental, emotional, spiritual beings. So for me, it's completely all connected. So to say that it is just spiritual or it is just quantum physics, you can't detach any of it, right? We are complete and whole human beings.
Yeah, everything is connected, right? Everything.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that everything improved since you start practicing Reiki. Of course, as you mentioned, there are a lot of benefits on receiving it, but there are also benefits on giving it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, there absolutely is. Yes, absolutely. So this is a huge gift to me as a Reiki master. I do Reiki on myself every day. Certainly, people who
Wow.
want to receive Reiki don't have to do it every day, but I consider that as a very healing practice for me, but also it's important to me because I give Reiki to others. And so, if you want to heal the world, you heal yourself first, right? So it's important to me that, I be a clear and open kind of channel for Reiki energy to send it to other people. But again, it's also just a really important healing practice for me. So I do it every day for myself. But I guess going back to what you were saying, when I give Reiki to someone, I'm just channeling Reiki energy. They're not taking in my energy, they're taking in Reiki. But that involves Reiki flowing through me as I send it to someone else. So I still get to benefit from a Reiki practice, even when I am sending Reiki to somebody else. So I consider it a huge gift to be able to practice Reiki on others because, in a sense, I also receive it.
I see. All right. So while you're giving it, you're also receiving it.
Yeah, that's it.
Got it. And that's so interesting. Lauren, I could stay here and ask you 100 more questions. This is fascinating. But
Love it.
I would like to ask you if you could talk a little bit about your books. So you have two books, right? Powerful, Not Tired, and Couch to 50 Miles.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
So Couch to 50 Miles was my first. And honestly, I think when I wrote Couch to 50 Miles, or when I set out to write it, I think I intended the content to be a little bit more of what my second book actually is. A lot more of like the how-to around nutrition and recovery and just healthy living and training and all that. But it really kind of took on a life of its own, and it really became more of an inspiring story of my own personal healing journey. And, that spawned from I would talk to people and they'd ask me about, my running, and it would start with, 7 years ago, or I guess 8 years at this point, I came back from Bangladesh, came back to America with a half full suitcase and $500 to my name and without my children. And I lived in pretty dire poverty for probably about a year and a half while I was trying to get my children back. And that actually is what started my running journey. And I had a lot of people tell me, well, you should write a book. So I said, okay. So I did.
Okay.
So there's a lot in there about, again, just, personal healing, right? And the part that, nutrition and training and running actually played in that process, as well as, the spiritual journey around it for me as well. A lot of, blowing up mindsets, like limiting mindsets that I had about myself. That is what that book is about. So Couch to 50 Miles, and how I went from basically running, or really walking / jogging a mile a day, to about 7 years later running my first 50-mile ultra. So now, fast forward to my second book, which is getting published the week of this recording. I don't know when this will come out, but it's getting published this week. So by the time this comes out, it should be out there. But it's called Powerful, Not Tired. And this is spawned from the work that I do every day with my own clients. And I can tell you that the number one thing that I hear from people all the time is, Lauren, I am so tired. I'm so tired. And that's physically for sure, but, also mentally and emotionally. And, I work with a lot of people, mostly women though, who are like, I don't know what's going on. I have no energy. I get sick. I go to the doctor. They say everything's normal, and everything is not normal, right? They're struggling with, what to eat and how to train and just how to feel motivated and feel like a human being while they're trying to raise a family or work or all that. Struggling with health, a lot of chronic, health issues. And so this is what I do on a daily basis, is I work with these people. And so that spawned, inspired this book, Powerful, Not Tired, where I really highlight a lot of what we have talked today. I go into depth about it: gut health, Reiki, also self-care, what I call the goddess first principle, but how to truly, in almost a seemingly selfish way, love ourselves first. And when we do that, when we love ourselves selfishly, it's actually one of the most selfless acts that you can do for other people, because you're a much more loving, kind, better human being when you love yourself. You're much better able to be present with the world when you do that. And so that's what this book is about. It's out there to help people who want to know how to improve their gut health, how they can love themselves more. Also, for people who are considering like working with me, this is a good introductory book to help them know like what this is all about.
Perfect. Where they can find you and your books?
Sure, yeah. The books will be available on Amazon,
Okay.
but also you can go to my website, goddesshealth.org. And you can get a copy of that book. You also get a chance to do a gut health assessment, where I'll give you like a free 15-minute get you started on the road to better gut health. So yeah, goddesshealth.org. You can do all that there.
Perfect. Beautiful. Lauren, do you have any final remarks? Anything else that you'd like to say?
God, no, I can't think of anything. I feel like we covered a lot, and I really enjoyed talking to you. I feel as well like we could talk for a really long time.
All right. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Really enjoyed talking to you, getting to know you. And yeah, let's do that again someday.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. If it's your first time watching the show, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to rank the show 5 stars. This will ensure that the podcast will be recommended to even more people and allow me to keep doing what I love. Check out now the BruCast store, Explorer store filled with awesome goodies from hoodies to t-shirts to mugs. We've got you covered. Stay in style with BruCast. Embrace the shock, set the trend. Buy now at brew-cast.com/store. I repeat, brew-cast.com/store. Link on the description below. BruCast also on Instagram, X, and TikTok, where we upload the shorts with the highlights of the show. So follow now, BruCast on Instagram, X, and TikTok. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. See you next time. Lauren, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. See you next time. Bye-bye.